right now from Change the Game. Want to welcome back to the program our friend Kira Davis. How you doing, Kira?
Hi, good, Kim. It's good to talk to you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. It is, boy, it's not really gotten off to a happy start, though.
Yeah.
Yesterday, all eyes on Paris and the attack on the publication Charlie Hebdo. You've got a piece out, an armed society is a polite society. Everyone else is France. And you were struck by this as well. I mean, it's very different than what you see here in America. The first responding officers, as you say, they show up on bicycles. They immediately left because they were unarmed. The police did not have firearms to respond to this crime.
It's almost unimaginable to us as Americans. And I do say in the Post that despite all of the issues we're having right now with the protests in Ferguson and all around the country against police brutality, the truth is that it still remains for most Americans. We have the expectation that when we are in trouble and we call the police to come help us, that they will come help us with a force that is equal to the threat we are facing. So they will have weapons, they will be armed, because that's what's going to stop an armed intruder or a threat of that nature. So to us, that's a crazy idea. But in France and other parts of Europe, their thinking is that, we should disarm everyone, and that way there will be no guns available, and then everyone will be peaceful. And, of course, we saw the sad results of that yesterday.
Yeah, we did. And, listen, I think there's going to be a great deal of discussion. We talk about the over-militarization of police here in the United States. Do you think here that there is an under-militarization of police in France?
Yeah, well, yes, absolutely. I don't know if militarization is the correct word, though. I mean, I certainly understand, I'm a black woman. I'm married to a black man. We moved from the ghetto to the suburbs. We've had our own experiences with the police, and I do understand that, there are people out there who have negative experiences with police officers, but that's not the militarization of the police. Those are individual issues. I think what we're looking at is how do we protect our citizens? And I don't believe that the police should be used as a military force. I do think we should be leery of incidences like after the Boston bombing, when police were just roaming through the homes of free citizens looking for intruders. I understand the reasoning behind that, but that's disturbing. But on the other hand, I fear that the result of what we're seeing across America with these Black Lives Matter protests is that we're going to castrate the police, so to speak, the way they are in France. And what we'll end up with is what the French have and what the British have, which is basically a benign police force. I call them in my post, I call them glorified brown shirts. They're snitches, basically. They're not really there to protect the public. They're there to issue you tickets for any offense that you might make, jaywalking or, violating any kind of regulations. They're basically glorified snitches. They really don't have any authority to protect you. They are there to report you to the authorities so the proper fines can be issued. That's where we're heading. And then that leaves us defenseless and vulnerable. And as I point out in my article, the last group of people who were left defenseless and vulnerable in this country because they had no access to weapons were Black Americans and Japanese Americans during their internment.
Talking with Kira Davis from Change the Game. Hey, Kira, let me ask you, do you think that this attack yesterday on Charlie Hebdo is a quote-unquote game changer? Are we going to have these kinds of discussions both here and in France that you think we need to have? Or will Americans, and we'll focus maybe, I guess, primarily on Americans, will they tune this out? Will they say, it happened overseas, not really important?
No, I think we're already seeing a change in the game, so to speak. I think we're already seeing people take up the larger conversation. I don't know if this will have an impact on how we talk about gun rights or Second Amendment rights in this country, but it does have an impact on how we're talking about free speech, which is directly connected to the Second Amendment. And I think that that's a positive thing. We're still seeing a lot of idiots on social media, talking about, well, they knew they were offending Islam and they shouldn't have done that. I believe in free speech, but, here's my thing. If your thought begins with the sentence, I believe in free speech, but you don't. Free speech is free speech. But I'm really glad we're having this conversation. We just came through the holidays, Cam. Mm-hmm. And as you know, during the holiday season here in America, we are subjected to all kinds of blog posts and news stories about the ridiculousness of Christmas and the fascism of Christianity. And I read a couple of articles from Salon about how the Christmas story is about God as a rapist. And we see these things over and over again, and no one says anything. And then when Christians get upset, people say, well, you're being too sensitive. Well, now we're seeing those same people respond to this incident in France yesterday, positively, saying, that's not right. People should have free speech, and they should be allowed to say what they want. And then some people are saying, but we don't want to offend religion. Well, great. We'll see how that works out next Christmas time when it's time again for all of the Jesus sucks posts that we see. But the point I'm making is that we're having the conversation that we weren't allowed to have before. And I think that's a good thing no matter what comes of it.
I hope so. Conversation is good. Listen, Kira, I appreciate you coming on the program today. It's always a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you, Cam, and Happy New Year to you. And
Happy New Year.
To everyone at NRA News.
All right, we'll talk again soon. Kira Davis joins from Change the Game.